there, my name is Megan and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a spoiler-free review for A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. But before we go ahead and get on into the review, if you are not already subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button, as well as the little bell icon so you can be notified every time I post new bookish content. I post new videos every Monday, Thursday, Saturday, and sometimes other days throughout the week. Also, don't forget to check down in the description box below for links to all of my social medias, my Buddy Read Discord, and my Patreon. A Christmas Carol was written in 1843 by Charles Dickens, and it is by far his most popular work, and it is not even a full-length novel, it is a novella. And most people are familiar with this story because never since its first publication has this novella ever been out of print, and it has been adapted into movies, plays, tons of different things. So most people are familiar with this story. In fact, Scrooge, the name Scrooge, has come to symbolize like an old grumpy man. So obviously this piece of work has been well loved over the years, and I've never read it. So the only other book I've read by Charles Dickens is Great Expectations, and I've always wanted to read more of his work, and I read this book on Christmas Eve and finished it on Christmas, and I have seen the movies, I have read the play, but I wanted to read the actual novella, and I'm glad I did. In A Christmas Carol, we follow Ebenezer Scrooge, who is an old miser who lives alone, and he is a banker, and all he is worried about is money, getting money from the people that owe him, accumulating wealth, but we soon find out that he scorns anyone who tries to have a relationship with him, including his nephew, who is the only family he has, and he is a lonely, miserable old man. During this time, the Poor Law had just been passed, and there were workhouses where poor people were sent to essentially work, and it was very, very hard labor that they were forced to do. The conditions were awful. The people that ran these workhouses were not very kind, and Charles Dickens himself actually worked in a workhouse when he was around 11 years old because his father was in debt and the debtors sent the entire family to workhouses. So Charles Dickens, we see in a lot of his work, really likes to tackle the idea of poverty and being empathetic and kind to people who don't have as much as you do, and just addressing poverty as a social issue. We see this in A Christmas Carol because at the beginning of the play, two men come to Scrooge's bank and ask him to donate to the poor, and he basically responds with, "Are there no workhouses?" And the two men reply, "Of course there's workhouses." And he essentially is like, "Well, the poor people can go work in those workhouses because I am not going to donate to anyone. I'm not going to part with my money. I don't care if they don't know where their next meal is coming from. I am not going to give money to them." So right away, our author establishes Scrooge as just a really selfish character. That night, Scrooge is visited by his old business partner, Marley, who's been dead for 7 years, and he is going to be visited by 3 ghosts that are going to help him change as a person. So Scrooge is visited by the ghost of Christmas past, present, and future. He learns to see the error in his ways, and at the end of the book, Scrooge is remade as a man. One of the reasons I think that this novella is so popular and has been so popular for so long is just because of the basic themes that it addresses. I think that they are very accessible to lots of different people over lots of different cultures, and some of those themes are just basic kindness, showing generosity to others. So in this novella, we see that Scrooge has an employee named Bob Cratchit, and Bob is essentially poor. Scrooge does not pay him well at all, and Scrooge could. He has 100% the wealth to pay this man more, and he's greedy and he holds back from him. But at the same time, we also see that Bob Cratchit is grateful for what he does have. He has a place to live. He has food on the table. He has clothes on his back. He has a shelter for his children, and he has everything that he needs. And even though he could have more, and he knows he could have more, we see in this book that he is grateful for what he does have. And he even thanks Scrooge, toasts Scrooge, for providing what he has to him, even though from our point of view, we know that Scrooge is being very selfish with Bob and definitely could show him more kindness. The similar themes of kindness, generosity, and empathy also surround Tiny Tim, who is Bob's sickly young son, and Scrooge realizes that if nobody steps in to help Bob with his sick son, then the little boy will die. And like I said, Charles Dickens spent time in a workhouse as a child. So we see that Dickens does focus a lot on how poverty affects children, not only with Tiny Tim, but we are also introduced to two symbolic figures by the Ghost of Christmas Present named Want and Ignorance, which also reiterates to Scrooge how he should show generosity, kindness, and empathy to people, well, all people, but especially those who have less means than he does. We also see the theme of materialism, or how money cannot buy happiness, because we have Bob Cratchit, like I said, who's extremely poor. He doesn't have anything other than what he needs, but he has a large family and lots of children, and Scrooge witnesses a scene of all of these family members together and just how much fun they're having, how happy they are, how much joy there is, and that's a direct contrast to Scrooge, who has this huge mansion, the money to do whatever he wants, yet he is exceedingly miserable and mean to everybody. In fact, once Scrooge learns to be generous, we actually see how much joy he gets out of that. At the end of the book, he ends up providing the Cratchit family with a large goose on Christmas Day, as well as paying a couple of children to deliver the goose to the Cratchit family. And the last theme I really liked in this novella was the theme of forgiveness. So like I said, Scrooge had a nephew, and that was his only family, and every single year the nephew invites Scrooge to have dinner with him and his family, and Scrooge is not going to do it. He never goes. In fact, he is extremely cruel to this nephew, and every single year the nephew shows back up to Scrooge's bank and invites him again. And then at the end of our novella, Scrooge realizes how awful he's been, and he goes to his nephew's house to have dinner. And at that point, the nephew really could have turned him out on the street and told him to go back to his bank, but he didn't. He welcomed Scrooge in with open arms and kindness and love, and forgave him for how cruel and mean he was, and welcomed him into his life and his family's life. So I just love all of these themes that Charles Dickens presented of showing kindness, generosity, empathy, forgiveness to one another. And I think he chose the Christmas time because a lot of people are usually have open hearts during the Christmas season. They are more willing to give during the Christmas season. It's just known as the season of giving. But I think Charles Dickens was trying to tell us that we need to demonstrate these characteristics to each other all the time, not just at Christmas. Overall, I enjoyed A Christmas Carol. It's a super quick read. It's great to read around the holidays. I love the themes. I think that they are universal themes that no matter what your age, where you come from, you will be able to get something out of this novella, and I highly recommend it. Okay, you guys, let me know in the comments if you have read A Christmas Carol and what you thought of it, and I will see y'all in another video soon. Goodbye!